Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another spiritual roundtable where we forget the fluff, real women, real talk, and real spirituality. We're here today to talk about managing our energy systems, and we're giggling already because we're already having interruptions in the energy,
Yes.
which is a perfect segue to today's topic. So today we're talking about managing our energy systems. Now, really quick before I forget, because I tend to do this, hello and welcome. My name is Jennifer. I'm your host. I would love to see you more in my podcast, Spiritual Roundtable or Spiritual Living today. My goodness, managing our energy. I need to take a minute and get grounded. So welcome back to the show of Spiritual Roundtable here on the YouTube channel. Thank you guys both for joining me today. We have two amazing women, Victoria Savage and Dana. Dana's been with me once before. You guys might recognize her face. She was on a show here recently. Actually, you've been on two with me now, right? I think there's been two.
Just one.
Just one. Okay, so this is two. So we're going to be talking a little bit more. Again, the whole point of these conversations is to bring us together as healers, as teachers, as whatever work it is that we do. We all are in the spiritual arena in some way, shape, or form. And one of the things that was so hard for me in the beginning was making it realistic, right? Because a lot of times when you think of spirituality, you think of like a monk sitting there in a beautiful Tibetan mountain, and all he's doing is being able to meditate, and that's amazing, but not very realistic when you live in the real world down here with the rest of us.
Yes, exactly.
And so learning how to manage our energy systems is something that's really an important thing to do. And this conversation may go in a million different ways. Because when I was first learning about the energy and how to maintain my vibration and be able to allow the energy to flow through me, I was one of those that would blow light bulbs before I knew light bulbs, watches, batteries never worked, all of those kind of things. So this is really an interesting, near and dear to my heart topic that we're going to be speaking about today. So let's go ahead, and you guys, if you want to take a minute to introduce yourself, Dana, if you want to go first, and then Victoria will introduce you really quick, and then we're going to dive into the meat of this conversation.
Okay. I'm 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗲𝗼. I'm a Reiki master healer and teacher, and I teach the traditional Usui Reiki Raiho, and I also teach angelic Reiki. And I also teach Seraphic wisdom classes, and I do sound healing and meditations. And my business name is 𝗺𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗄 Healing, and my website is www.𝗺𝗵𝗄healing.com.
And guys, don't worry, all of the details will be in the show notes below, so you'll be able to find all their links, all of the good stuff. You'll find everything you need to be able to connect with all of these ladies, including myself.
Yes.
All right, Miss Victoria.
Hello, I'm Victoria Savage, Nurse Savage, on your side, your wisdom-guided oracle. I am a registered nurse by trade, walked away from it a few years ago, pretty disillusioned with what we were doing to people, and really started studying what we are, down to the very core of what we are, which is just energy. And my path has always been to empower people into the truth of who they are in their energy, what they can do with it in their own life, emotionally, physically, relationally, and allow people to really start working their own energy. I do energy healing with a combination of several things, not just one like I learned it, but theta healing is my basis. And what started coming to me a couple of years ago were curses, which just pretty much blew me away. And I just invite all the angels. I walk and work with angels a lot as well. And so I do a lot of energy releasing and curse work, because light workers have been cursed in order to try to contain us. And now we're lighting up, and we're no longer allowing that. So
I love that. Yeah, I love that so much. And I appreciate the work that you do. And it's so important, right? One of the things that I know I've been working on as well is the generationally healing. And that would include some of the curses and some of the generational imprints and I hate to call it wounding, but the things that we have that are holding us back, whether that be curses or soul contracts, or even just our own fears, or whatever it is that is holding us back. And especially for women like us, because if we look generationally, that would have been considered the witches, or the, you know, don't get too close to them. She might have an herbal remedy that might help you, God forbid, right? So like there's all of these interesting things around the spiritual truth. If we get to the truth of it, right, there's a lot of things that are holding us back from that. And of course it's by design. Of course the dark doesn't want us to shine our light and be healthy and whole and happy and healed and healing more people, and you know, all of those things. So again, that's another reason why I've created these roundtables, so that we can talk about this with no BS, no fluff. Let's just get right down to it. So again, today is managing our energy systems. So when we're talking about this, I know that we all have a little bit of we all have a similar thread, right? We all do some healing work. It's all kind of overlaps and interlaps and however you want to say it. And I know we all work with the angelic realm, which is a beautiful thing. But the energy systems, it's such, it's so funny, because we learn, what is it, like third grade, where we're like, everything is energy, but nobody really, like, we hear it, but then we don't realize that that includes us as well, and that we are energy. And from like the nurse standpoint, right, from a physical, realistic standpoint, our entire body works off of a nervous system, which is electrical impulses that fire in our brain to make our arms work and to make our voice work. And so we have an electrical system that is actually helping us live in this lifetime. So it's all about the energy.
Yeah, it really, I mean, spirit, that's where what really lit me up was when I understood it as everything, and spirit is energy. It's like, this isn't woo-woo anymore. This is science. This is a way I can get through that is more concrete for many people, not just a religious belief or a spiritual belief. It is. It's like people have said, you know, I didn't used to believe in that energy stuff. And I look at them and go, there's nothing to believe in.
Right.
Who you are. It's like, it's not a belief system. It's a scientific fact. And working with that, like, and you mentioned the generational stuff. You know, I truly believe this lifetime that we all stepped in here on purpose this time, believe it or not. And, we agreed to do the healing this lifetime that we can. And certainly within the theta, we pull from the ancestors to whatever energy we're working on, because we can. And because this is just freeing up so much of the past. And interesting for me, because I never wanted to interact with ancestors. I kind of felt like, you know, you caused me enough trouble when you're here the first time. Now, until I did an ayahuasca journey in Guatemala, and realized truly it seems so silly to me now, the volume of healers in my lineage. But I live weirdly so very much in the present, sort of, you know, future oriented in my head, but I let go of things. It just is how I operate. And so I didn't ever bring them in until after that, and realized the opportunity I had for that. I did healing on them, but I didn't invite them in to do anything with me. And so now that they're healed, now I'm really inviting them in, sort of.
I love that too, because I had a very similar thing, right? Like I was like, I tried so hard to block all this out and to block it down and not want to do the spiritual work. But you're right, from so many aspects of that yes, we are all energy. Yes, it's not anything to be afraid of. And it just simply is. Like, I think if anything like that, it just simply is. Like, whether you believe it or not, whether you think it's woo or not, it just simply is. And the more that we can understand that, the easier I think it becomes. But I think before we even get into some of the spiritual work, I think we need to understand, like, in our own energy systems, like managing our own energy is really important at this time. Like I've noticed, well, this whole year, right, we've had solar flares, we've had the CMEs, we've had geomagnetic storms, we've all of these things, and it really is affecting our energy, not only energetically because of the neutrinos and the extra particles of frequency that are coming to the planet. On top of that, then when we feel that physically, then we also sometimes get emotional, which creates another energy charge. And so there's all of these things going on at the same time. And so we need to understand how to even manage our own, like our own energy system. And then if you add the empath that doesn't know that they're empathic, or if you add the intuitive who's trying to pretend like she isn't, or somebody that is very highly like energetically called to do healing and they don't know and they blow light bulbs. Right? Like that's what I used to do. I could always tell if I was getting a little bit too overwhelmed with energy. And it was usually when spirit was trying to talk to me and I was trying to block them and say, nope, nope, nope. And it would start backing up and compounding and compounding. And I would turn on a light switch and it would blow the light bulbs. Like it just, there was too much energy. So I had to learn how to allow the energy to move through me. Whether that was to sit down and journal and get a reading, or whether that was to sit and meditate and actually listen to what spirit was saying, or if it was knowing that healing needed to flow through me, because sometimes we're meant to heal. And for me, when this first came up, it's very similar to laying on of hands. Now, I did end up getting trained with Reiki, which then it totally made sense, right? Because it's like, I didn't know how it was working. I'm like, I just pray. I feel like I'm supposed to lay hands and then it gets healed. It's Reiki. You can be trained in it and understand it and learn it from a little bit more of a scientific. I mean, I know Reiki is still a spiritual practice, but there's energy, or there's science behind it that also makes sense, because you're literally channeling the energy through. You're not doing it. That's one thing that I want to make clear. It's the angelic realm. It's God's source universe. You're just the conduit that allows the energy to move through you. And hopefully you're working with integrity. And I know you ladies are, of course, but whoever your practitioner is hopefully working with integrity, that it's for your highest and best, only healing what is in your highest and best in that moment. But when it comes to managing our energy systems, there's so many different ways to do that. So the one for me is meditation and journaling. That helps me move energy through, because I can bring whatever the energy is and get it out on paper. What is your go-to for managing your own energy system? I'm going to put you guys on the spot and ask that.
Personally, I have a couple, and that I teach as well. And I call this my silly, stupid tool. I didn't invent it, but heard it years ago. And it works. And I started doing it to raise my vibration, because I woke up in a panic. I woke up heavy every day, and, could be depressed a fair amount if I didn't choose to be in a different vibration or frequency. And so I would start practicing shedding pure love and joy on, but I would get to that heart swelling place of love. So for me, I would think of my granddaughters, which, are closest to the babies I have, I've had in my life, and how it feels to hold that sleeping baby, and just that, oh my gosh, that swelling feeling. And then I would start shedding pure love and joy on anything, the walls, the ceiling, the sky, the cars, the asphalt, or on people or situations that I wanted to affect, because it goes from me by the power of my intention. And that is one of the biggest things I teach people, the power of intention. And then it goes out and it hits wherever I aim it, but it pulls from me the lower vibration, so that in 30 seconds, I will have people do it when they come into my office for like a 2-minute, when they're heavy, when they walk in, and let's just clear this. And it pulls the heavier vibrational energies out, like fear, hopelessness, helplessness, all of that. And then you're lighter, you feel better. And that's like the most basic tool I give. And then gratitude is also another way to do the same thing, is really focusing on what is going right in your life and all of that. So very simple.
And for me, it's somewhat similar, but it's like walking out in nature, going for a walk with the dog, especially if like I'm finding I'm like a little bit overwhelmed with energy or frustration or whatever. I'll go for a walk and immediately I'll start feeling better just being outside. And I'll kind of do the same thing, like what Victoria said, is I'll just kind of like send love to every, like all the trees and bushes as I'm walking by. I kind of feel like I'm like in the Avatar movie in some respects, because I'm like touching the branches and being like, I see you and I love you, and that just kind of helps to like, send energy and love. And I find in taking a bath or shower also helps. And I also find that in both situations, that tends to be when I receive messages and or guidance. I didn't even realize it till, I just thought it was just thoughts popping in my head all the time. But it's like, oh, I'm actually getting messages, like, oh, you should reach out to this person and maybe, tell them that they should look into this or that, or or I just call a friend and they're like, I was just thinking about you. And it's like, yeah, I know. That's it. It's by divine, guidance that I'm calling you. Yeah, and going back to your thing about Reiki, I think we all, we definitely are just the conduit, and it's source love energy coming through us. But I think we also do more than just Reiki, and we might not know what that is because it's just whatever is flowing through us through source, of whatever healing that person needs to receive. So I say Reiki, but I know sometimes it's
always
more than that. Yeah. Because it's like whatever's coming through, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that too. One of the things that is a really easy tool that I've done, and this is really good, especially for healers who feel like their hands are kind of are holding too much energy, or you can feel the energy moving through you. And again, you guys, this could be quote unquote frustration or sadness or whatever, or it could be too much extra happy. You know what I mean? Like it could be both. Because even sometimes when your energy is high, if it's too much and you feel like, oh my God, my hands are tingling and they won't stop, you can actually just wash them in salt, like do a salt scrub. So that's something I used to keep all the time in my kitchen, was just a salt scrub that had a little bit of essential oil and some coconut oil in it. Salt works. And this is another scientific thing, because salt neutralizes the ions. And so there's a reaction that happens, but it's something that works. It's one of those things, even if it's what's it called, a placebo, even if it's a placebo, it does better because it's not going to hurt you. It's just salt. But salt and any kind of oil, coconut oil, grapeseed oil, olive oil, whatever you like to use, and then a little bit of essential oil because it smells good, and a salt scrub on your hands will actually help kind of neutralize the energy and bring things into balance. I used to use that a lot if you're out in public, because if you're empathic or spiritual or, intuitive, whatever words you want to label that with, you do pick up energy from other people. And so for me, that was a way to wash away whatever energy may have been picked up as I was out and about, like in the grocery store or wherever we were out for the day. So washing your hands is something that's a simple little tool that really does help with managing your energy. So
I never thought such a simple thing to. Yeah, that's, yeah.
I actually teach
great thing.
Oh, sorry, I actually teach my students to do that after a healing, is to go use a salt scrub. Just to kind of cleanse away the energy of their client. So
another thing, when you just said that, one of the other things that's really important too, whenever you're talking about your energy system, I'm sorry, my hotspot keeps beeping and I hope it's not coming through, but it's making me crazy.
No, it's not.
Speaking of energy,
yeah.
One of the other things that's really good is if you're ever in a session, and it was interesting to me that sometimes this isn't taught, to make sure that you detach your energy from someone else if you're doing a session or if you're having a conversation. And something to note, like if you're not a practitioner, but you still have these the intuitive gifts or whatever, you're opening to your gifts, if you are constantly thinking about somebody and it's not a good thing, right? Like it's draining your energy, or it's making you worry, or they pop up in your head and it makes you frustrated, you may want to cut the cord, remove the energy, and help you maintain your own energy. by doing that, right? So like there may be some energetic tie to somebody, and I don't want to get into a whole cord cutting thing here, but just simply ask for divine guidance, ask for it to be just transmuted. I know back in the day they used to say to cut it and send it back. Why would you want to send nasty energy back to somebody? I always just say, just cut it and transmute, send love and appreciation and gratitude and peace and happiness and joy and hope, whatever, and just allow it to be transmuted through all time, space, and dimension. And that sometimes, again, is an energy thing that may be affecting our own energy system that we may not even be aware of.
Yeah. I also will just, I mean, literally do this as, because wiping it off the hands too. But there are times when the energy has been, you know, a lot. And so cord cutting and the saging my whole place is also, you know, at times. And I created a couple of energy clearing sprays just to use afterwards or during the curses release. Yeah, whatever, or everything. Let's put it that way. Palo Santo and sage and the energy clearing spray. So
no, I agree. I love all of the tools. I love all of them. So if we think about this idea of managing our energy system, have you guys, I'm just gonna again put you guys on the spot because that's how I like to roll on these roundtables. I've noticed this for myself, so I'm curious to see if you're noticing it as well, that it's taking a little bit of a different intention, a different routine. Like it's different. The energy has shifted since this summer. And again, we're recording this in 2024, but whenever you see this is always right for you. So even if you're seeing this a year from now, like it's the right timing for you to see this. So just think back to noticing in the last few months, have you noticed that your own energy system feels a little bit different? For example, I know through, I want to say like July and August, there was this whole thing of like weeks of people not getting enough sleep and not necessarily feeling like they were tired the next day, but literally just there was something in the energy that was affecting the energy system, and it was creating no sleep. A lot of the people that I talked to at that time were like, I'm not sleeping. And me personally, I am a sleeper. I like to get plenty of sleep every night, but I've been waking up super early, which is not like me. But I feel fine. Like I'm feeling fine throughout the day, but also when the energy is a little bit overwhelming or a little bit wonky, the things that I've done in the past aren't always working, but then like some of the back to the basics things like the salt scrub is working phenomenally, right? So have you noticed anything within your own energy system that's working now that maybe hasn't worked for a while, or vice versa?
I've noticed that that I've really had to like listen to my body more and really pay attention to what is resonating with it and what's not. You know, and I always thought when people said, oh, it has to look like this or that, I thought, I don't believe that. but I think we're being guided to really listen to our bodies more, and what may not resonate with it one week, you know, it's fine the next. So it's really listening with intent to our bodies. And I know, like, I find that like I can't even have a glass of wine anymore. Yeah, I used to be able to at least have a glass of wine occasionally here or there, but there is no way I can have a glass of wine anymore, because like after just one glass, I feel really like drunk, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just had one glass of wine, and I used to be able to do that without feeling drunk, but no. And then I feel like crud the next day, and so it's like, why do I want to do that? So yeah, I can't even do that anymore. And then I, you know, and then it seems like there's always something new that I can't eat anymore because it just doesn't resonate with my body, and it affects my system, my energy system. So yeah, and then I find that I almost went through like a little bit of a grief process around that, because you know, I go to a restaurant with my husband and, you know, during the middle of the day and see everyone like enjoying this and enjoying that and having a cocktail. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could have a cocktail in the middle of the day, you know? And I know I used to do that. So like, it was almost like a little bit of a grief process, like, okay, that is not me anymore. And that's okay. And, you know, especially when, you know, some of us grew up or, you know, feeling different, you know, like a black sheep. And then I'm like, oh, and here's another way I feel different, but it's all good because, you know I want to be at peak energy, you know,
Well, and I
for
think
myself and for healing.
yeah, I think we do go through phases like that too, right? Like as our body's changing and recalibrating, and especially again this summer, there was some trajectories that shifted, some timelines that collapsed, and some that merged, and there was all of these different things happening. And so I think that's, to me, is another level of really being divinely guided and divinely led, and then honoring yourself and practicing self-care, right? Because if you're like, okay, this whatever's going on in this energy, this food isn't working for me anymore, this thing isn't working for me anymore, and that's okay. One of the things that I always talk about and what I teach is like, don't worry about what everybody says. You don't have to be a vegan, you don't have to be this, you don't have to be that. You have to do whatever is good for you. You have to trust yourself of what works for you. And I know there's all these different things. I remember, oh my God, it feels like it's been 100 years ago. And somebody's like, well, you can't drink coffee, it's going to make your chakras all crazy. And I was like, coffee calms me down. It literally has the opposite effect. It does not make me crazy. I actually sleep better when I drink coffee before I go to bed. So like, you really have to understand we're all individual. And so I know there's a lot of places and a lot of teachers and a lot of spiritual teachers that teach that it has to be a certain way. And I don't buy into that personally. I think we need to understand for each of us what works the best. We're all from, you know, different, and we're all different energy. So therefore we all need something a little bit different, I think.
I totally agree with that. Agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, in this day and time, the truth is, and I honestly, until you said that, didn't realize how long ago I went, oh no, you tell me that this is the box I'm supposed to be in every, it's like, no, I'm sorry. It's not that I want to rebel. It's like, you don't know me and I don't know you. And anytime anyone is telling us that we have to be this in this box, for me, it's just like, no, 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 you don't ever tell anybody that, because I don't, you know, and that's one of the things, you know, I don't know if you listened to RFK's talk the other day, and I really loved the comprehensiveness that he brought into his whole perspective, because it's just like, you know, people were not allowed to talk. And he talked a lot about the freedom of speech. But the thing for me most is, you know, my perspective is going to be very different from Dana's, because we have lived very different lives and had different experiences. But that doesn't make her experience or her perspective not okay. It's just different. And I think spiritually, us holding this space for allowing the differences of others to be okay, that doesn't mean we can play with everybody, because, you know, I call them the sophomores, just because it always seemed like the class that was just ahead of us, we just did this, you know, we just couldn't connect. And there are just people that it's going to be, but that's okay, because there's other people for them to connect to and other people for me to connect to. And so it's very dangerous to place people in or try to. And that's when I immediately, you know, those spidey senses go, oh no, you are not where I play. We can't do this together, because there is not the connection that we need to have. And the other thing that I don't remember now what I wanted to say. Oh, yes, I do. It was about becoming, and I'm really glad you talked about the wine and different foods and the things that have shifted this summer, because, you know, I'm seasoned, and you really begin to wonder, is this just because I'm this age? Is this, you know, is this effect of that aging process, which there's a lot of shifts, but working, in my opinion, to become the observer and asking for that so you can be above the trees to see, takes you out of the emotion of things. And it is a helpful way. And I've heard it, be curious and all of that. And I've been the observer for a while, but it was very evident to me just a couple weeks ago in a situation I knew I was going in that was going to place me back in that heavy energy of shame, not enough, not good enough. I'm just, I'm whatever. And I was prepared by the angels before, and it was really kind of a disconnected place to be on that whole weekend, which was lovely. I didn't feel bad at all, but I was so disconnected. I was just watching everything. Then when I got home, the full moon, the Sunday before that, it was like, boom, all of this stuff came up. But choosing to be that observer, it was like I was prepared to go in and not really be enacting those feelings and emotions during this 3-day weekend with all these people. And then came back and went, oh yeah, this is the full moon. This is what I want to get rid of. This is what I want to get rid of, because it did come, but I was able to observe in hindsight where I didn't used to. I would be right in the fray of going, oh, this is you. Yeah, you should be, all of that old, at least for me, very toxic childhood stuff. And so working to become the observer and asking for that perspective is very simple. I can't say being the observer is simple, but I obviously it's different. That time frame of becoming the observer is also a great management tool, because we're not, again, sucked into the fray of it. We will still learn and experience what we need to, but we can go through and be dispassionate maybe during the process and learn from that, just see it from a different perspective. So
yeah,
it was a trip.
I was actually going to say that's a perfect example though of managing your energy system, right? Because you're managing your energy system, what environment you're going into. I kind of always liken this to, like, if you're going to go hiking in the mountains, especially in Colorado, there's mountain lions, like, be prepared, right? It's the same thing. If you know the energy that you're going into, you can then be prepared. And when you can stay a little bit detached from it and see it from a different perspective, that allows you to be in observation mode, in calm mode, where you can breathe and you can actually respond to what's being brought up or presented versus that knee-jerk reaction that just makes your energy go crazy, right? Because you can get sucked right into the trauma drama bullshit, and then there you are in the middle of your energy's out of control again because you've lost it to emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example for sure.
And I think people need to know that right now we are shifting quickly and almost continuously. I mean, because we are connected to the cosmic energy coming in, and there's such a huge, powerful alignment of planets, and the next few months are just going to be hell on wheels pretty much throughout the world, and us holding the grounding, holding that understanding, managing our energy so that we're not in fear, we're in response, not in reaction, but knowing too that all of a sudden then we shift again. This whole, it's fun, but it's strange and unsettling at the same time, where it's just like, okay, who am I today? Where am I at today in this continuum? And the lack of sleep, that's how I journeyed through life. I've actually been sleeping better, but have had those nights when it's 2:00 in the morning and it's like, okay, get up, because you're not going to go back to sleep. And I can't say that I get particular insights at that point. But I do get up and honor the fact that I'm awake. And it's like, all right, whatever I need here, I'm willing to receive it. And sometimes I'm conscious of it. I would say most of the time I am not, but I am open, willing, and ready to respond, to be used, to be enlightened by whatever creator needs for me to know and move forward with.
Right. I think a lot of times those like nights of sleep too, the lack of sleep, I should say, is usually the night before you're either doing a fair, or you have like a really big group healing, or you're offering something, you know, like a big healing. And I feel like they just, you know, like even without consciously being aware, you're getting downloaded whatever you need to get. And then they somehow give you enough energy to get through that day the next day, even though you're only on like 2 hours of sleep. It is just, it's just being guided, like you said, by source.
Sometimes we have to be in that state to allow it to come through, because our physical is like, whatever, I don't know. I had, in fact, this just, and I'm going to share it as quickly as I can, because it just occurred to me why I had to be in that state. It kind of occurred to me before, but a few years ago, I ended up in Florida in the summertime with a cousin who I knew was dying of pancreatic cancer, but she'd done really well, wanted me to come. What I didn't know is that she'd had brain damage in April before I got there. So very different personality. So by Monday at 4:30 in the morning till Friday at 9 o'clock, I'd had 10 hours of sleep at her hand. And I'm sitting in the hospital with her and just going, God, I don't know why I have to be in this physical state to do whatever it is I'm doing here with her, because I knew I was helping her die. She did not die till later in the summer, but that was my job. I knew that. But it's like, really, why did I have to be in just this zombie state? I honestly don't know the answer, but when you said that, it was like, yeah, just like that. I don't know exactly what was going on and why, what happened, everything after that transpired, but I know they did. And again, the mantra I teach, I'm open, I'm willing, I'm ready, guide me, is just you step in and do what you need to do with me, because I certainly can't right now, whatever that looks like. I have zero physical reserve. And that's sometimes where we need to be.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like when it's events and things like that, I do feel like whatever was going on this summer was just literally just the energy coming through. I don't know that anybody that I know was like getting any massive downloads or drastic information. I literally just think we had too much energy. So, but also then that brings me back to one of the things I say is sometimes it means something and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just part of the experience. And then it's like, what is the story that you're telling yourself about this? Are you telling yourself a story that something's wrong with it, or that you should be like, what is the story? Because I've just been like, well, this is interesting that I'm not sleeping. Like I'm not putting any energy to it. I'm not making it mean anything other than there's a lot of energetics going on right now. Now I have, at the same token, I want to say there have been times where I've been woken up at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I need to channel a message, and my guides have been like trying to get my attention all day and I haven't paid attention. And then they're like, okay, now will you listen? So I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, channel a message, and then I can go back to sleep. So both and, right? Like there's both, either or.
Yeah. I love it.
Definitely.
Yes. And no sides here. Let's expand in this direction.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, and
I think it's really important to sorry, go ahead, Victoria.
Believe that we are shifting and being prompted and all of that very physically but gently for what is coming over the next few months. We're getting ready for that. What it looks like, I know is going to be tumultuous, but I don't know exactly what that is. But I think, the light workers really are being prepared. We just don't always understand that that's what's going on. And we go very much to the human aspect, the physical aspect, but yeah, I think that's why this summer has been so highly energetic and shifting and changing, because it is preparing us to understand more about what really is going on. And I do believe that we will have to have that understanding as we enter into hold space and hold calm and hold fearlessness as we go through this.
It's interesting that you're talking about what's coming through the rest of the year, because I've been feeling very similar. What I actually just channeled that it's going to be opposing realities. And when I first channeled it, I was like opposing realities, but it's not even just two, like one or the other. There's variations in between, but there will be opposing realities to where everybody's going to be experiencing this in a different way. And for us as light workers, as healers, as starseeds, whatever label it is that you resonate with, that you're here for a reason, you're called to this. Our biggest, most important mission at this moment is managing our energy system, right? Just like we are here to hold space. We are here to hold love. We are here to anchor in light. We are here to, shine hope. We're here to keep the peace, the calm, the joy, like keep that vibration as a stability, something that's stable throughout all the chaos that may or may not ensue, right? Like, because I think, again, everybody's going to be experiencing this on a different level based on your own beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, all of those things. So again, as light workers and healers, if we can manage our own energy system and keep it calm and cool and collected, right? And keep that vibration of love and hope, then I think we're doing what we need to do. And maybe that's simply just being able to be balanced and stable, right? So again, I don't know anybody that has a very clear picture of what's coming, but we're all getting something similar that is like, it's probably going to be a little bit crazy. And tumultuous is a word that I also channeled a few weeks ago. So yes, that is right on point. But at the same time, that doesn't have to be your experience, even if that's the experience in the collective, right? So
Right.
I love that we're talking about this right now because it feels like perfect timing to be speaking about managing our energy system.
Yeah, keeping ourselves in a higher vibration, which is a daily thing. The other tool that I use daily, because I got this far infrared sauna, so I sit in it every morning and I do 20 minutes of breath work. And, that's good physical, but it really, I'm not a meditator. I got a very busy Gemini. And so that's almost like torture for me to try to do this, but I can be way present in breath work. And then to me, that will really just ground me for the day to begin it. And for some, it's a great pre-sleep tool. But I love that possibility too, because we always have it. It's like, it's always right here. And I can do it at any time. And not really anybody even has to know if I have to do it in public, to just kind of bring myself maybe out of panic, which I don't hit anymore, but a lot of people do. It's like, just, box breathing, breath work, 20, whatever, in and out, holding your breath. Again, the physical things we can do to manage what we don't see as our physical. And there's just a lot like touching the plants, the trees, getting out in water for me is, if I can get in water, I'm about as happy as I get.
And I think you're right, Victoria. I think we just need to consciously just stay in a higher vibration as much as possible and out of fear. Yeah.
Yeah.
To show the way for everyone else, right? Like you said, Jennifer.
Yeah, we constantly are sharing our energy. We can't change that. We cannot change the fact that we share. But what we can change is the kind of energy we're sharing. And I teach that a lot now. It's like, that's really all you have to do is do your own energy work. Keep your vibration higher. That's it. And then you're helping because you're sharing a.
So true. That's so true. And I kind of love that. Like, I know we could probably keep talking forever. And I've totally lost track of time. I have no idea where we're at or how long we've been
I don't
talking.
either.
But so let's go ahead and we'll start wrapping this up, because I feel like that's it. That is what your mission, if you choose to accept it right now, is to hold your vibration, hold love, manage your own energy system. Choose the vibration that you want, focus on what you want to create, focus on how you want to feel, and anchor in light, anchor in love, anchor in happiness, joy, peace, whatever it is that you can do. And that does come from being a good steward of our own frequency, our own energy, our own beliefs, our own thoughts, all of that, because that does affect our own vibration, right? So managing our energy systems can be in multitude of ways. And one of the things that I actually want to leave, I'll let you guys each say something to close out as well, but my guides always talk about the 5 pillars, and this is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and galactic frequency, right? So you're talking about breath work. Well, that kind of covers more than one, because when you're doing breath work, yes, that is a physical thing. And physically that will, depending on how you're doing the breath work, that can stimulate your nervous system, which will calm it down, right? So by doing breath work, especially certain like techniques like ocean breath, will stimulate the vagus nerve and actually help it calm down. Well, when it does that, that calms your nervous system. So it's physical, but also at the same time, when you're doing that, you're connecting with your body, which overlaps into spiritual, emotional, right? Because when you're tapped into your heart, when you're tapped into your body, when you're embodied in the frequency, then that overlaps. And so it could be all of those things. And the same thing when you're managing your energy. Is this your energy? Is this maybe there was a geomagnetic storm? Maybe there was a solar flare that's got you a little bit amped up. Like if that's the case, then you may need to do something different to move the energy. Maybe you need a nap. Maybe you need to move. Maybe you need to get on a treadmill. Maybe you need to go kickboxing. Like whatever works for you. How do you need to move the energy? And trusting that it may not, maybe meditation is what worked for you in the past, and maybe now you've got to go run or something. Right? Like you've got to trust how your body is feeling and how to manage your own energy system in whatever way is showing up, whether it's any of those 5 pillars. So I think that's a good thing to remember, is it's not always just one thing. Sometimes it's just physical, right? Sometimes it's just emotional. Sometimes it's the galactic frequency, your guides, your angels, whatever that might be. So paying attention to those 5 pillars when you come to managing your own energy is powerful, I feel like. So if we were to wrap it up, and if you guys wanted to leave with one thing today about managing your energy system, what would be one thing that you could leave everybody that's watching with?
Well, I find when I'm getting frustrated, or like you said, like, someone frustrates you, or someone, kind of like sets you out, kind of sets you off, to stay in the higher vibration, or someone cuts you off in traffic or whatever, at first I'm like, I can't believe it. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'll just send love to that person. I'll just be like, I said, and I know that sounds silly, but it actually works to like help settle your system, kind of keep you in a higher vibration, and then you're sending love to that person. So that's just what just a little trick I've been starting to do. Or, even if there's someone I'm like frustrated with or kind of makes me angry, I'll just send them love. And it might take quite a few times I'll send them love, but just to kind of keep me in my higher vibration, because you don't want to give your power away.
Yeah, the same thing. The power of my intention it's the power of your intention will move the energy of someone else, will actually affect them by that power. And that's, to me, like sending love. And I love how you said sometimes it takes a few times, because sometimes at the beginning it's like, I don't want to send love, but I know for me, I need to get to that place, because it will discharge that anger, irritation, whatever, and I will feel better in the end. And the other thing, it's all about you. Truly is all about you, because you cannot manage anyone else's energy. You can't do their work, but you can do yours. And when you do that, okay, I'm going to make a choice here. It's like when we were kids, it was just smile, and we'd practice when we went up the ski lift. The smile, like just do it. And so that power of your intention. Okay, I'm going to send you love, even though I don't feel it right now. Eventually I'll get to that feel it place. But the intention is, I do want them truly in my wholeness. I want them to be loved. I want them to feel that, even in my irritation. So, and that is the baseline of, where we want to be, is in that place. I do choose love for you. I may not be able to give it to you at the moment, but I do want you to experience that. So eventually here, I'll be able to experience that for you, to send it to you. What you do with it isn't my circus, not my monkeys. It's your choice.
No, and I love that. And I'm glad you clarified that, because I wanted to make sure it's very clear. Whenever you are sending love to somebody, it's not you're sending them love so that they'll change or so that they'll do something else. It's sending love because if you can get that love frequency into you and allow that frequency to go out, you're sending them love regardless of what they do with it, how it feels to them, but literally, honestly wanting goodness for someone else, regardless of what they're going through, right? Because we never know what somebody else is going through or where they're at in their life. So if they irritate us, it's all about us. It really is. So when you said that it's all about you, that's exactly the truth. And I say that a lot as well. So I agree with that. And I just want to clarify, never try to send energy to somebody to elicit what you want, right? The whole point
For
of sending
sure.
somebody
Right.
love is to allow love to flow through you. Hopefully the love will help them in some way, but not because you're wanting them to react or do something in a different way or whatever. That is crossing a boundary for sure, because you're trying to get somebody to do something else. So I just want to clarify, I knew we were on the same page, all
Right.
of us, but I wanted to make sure that we expressed that and spoke about that, because I know that's something else that can get misconstrued sometimes. So
Oh yeah,
ladies,
it's just to keep us in a higher vibration ourselves. Yes.
right, absolutely. So all right, ladies, thank you so much for the conversation today. I think it was really powerful. I'm actually excited to listen back because I think there was so much going on that it's going to be a really powerful conversation. Thank you again. And for everybody watching, don't forget that all of the information is below. You can find the links for these wonderful ladies who have joined me today. And thank you again for joining us for the Spiritual Roundtable, where we forget the fluff and it's no BS, guys. We just talk about real stuff, real spirituality, real life. And we're just here to talk about it all and make this spiritual thing realistic, right? So sending you guys all lots of love. Thanks again, Victoria and Dana, for coming on with me today. And we will see you guys all on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
It was nice